Okay, welcome back. This is step 3 of the, I don't know, working title, Moon in the Forest Floor. It's kind of a, I don't know, second take on a scene that I did called by the same title many years ago. This is the black that I'm working into the scene now. Kind of really framing off the edges. At this point in time, you know, there's a lot of tone running through here. I can't really see too much of the texture of the Sedge filler anymore. I mean, I can still see it in there, but it's, you know, it's not very distinct at all. What I like to do is I like to go in within grassy areas like that, you know, when things get so filled up with tone. And I like to work in some additional textures and meaning. Let's see. I have some new stamps that, you know, with this kind of in mind. This is this little spindly branch right here. And I'm just going to mask off some of these areas in here, you know, again with a nice soft mask, just a ripped paper towel. And, you know, what this will represent is a, you know, some nice bush or something like that growing out of that grass in there. And see, I have some right there. Let's put some up right here. Now I'm going to have to re-ink this. Okay, let's just go for some of the tops of it here. Okay. And I don't know, let's reiterate some of those little saplings coming up. This is just a kind of a more vertical version of this one right here. This one's kind of this rounded look. Okay, let's go. Right. So it's kind of putting some extra layering in there. And again, it's something kind of crisp against a lot of kind of softer elements in the background, just because I've layered so much color in there. It just, you know, it has a very soft look to it, you know, within that grassy area. So this is the way to go back and reintroduce I don't know, some textural, visual textural contrast in there. And let's add in some additional foreground. Let's do that later. I'm going to do some coloring now with the alcohol-based pens. These ones in particular are the Marley Le Plume Permanents. Okay, and a little bit too dark to begin with. Let's start off a little bit lighter. Okay, going into the this tree trunk, this fallen tree. I guess it's I don't know. I guess it'd be a branch, you know, with the caterpillar on there being, you know, so. That's too dark right there, you know, but again, these are alcohol-based pens, so you can kind of really blend it out, you know, in there. Being that this is glossy cardstock, that's no problem. Now, if I tried to blend it out, you know, half an hour later, I really couldn't tell you how that would, how it would do as far as being able to blend it. This is the squeakiest stamping I've done. a very long time, I guess. That's for sure. Let's go in here. You know, I like that warmth that that's bringing into the mushrooms, and I think these trees will be missing it if I don't apply this same color and color scheme, you know, to the trees up here. And you probably can't even see it, you know, what this additional tone's doing. I mean, I barely can, you know, I'm here live doing it, but I don't know, it's serving as kind of a foundation too, so, you know, the more color you run in there, you know, it'll start to kind of blend in a little bit more. Okay, this is a little bit of a darker brown. Okay. Applying this to some of these mushrooms here. Okay, we have that shadowing now. Let's go and blend some of that out a little bit. Okay, it's looking a little bit better. It's kind of coming around a little bit. Let's go into some of these trees and introduce some shading to these trees. I'll go with the this darker brown on one side of the trees over here. And on this side of the scene, I'll put this darker shade on the opposite side of the tree so that it'll reiterate the center lighting coming from that moon there. Alright, now that's a bunch of brown there now. Right, let's see, let's go back in and blend that out a little bit so it's not such an abrupt line there. Okay, now let's start to, you know, bring in some additional tones. There's a lot of greens running through the scene. Let's introduce a little bit more of a, you know, a common color within these different areas and objects. Why not bring a little bit of this green into the mushroom? And looking at this, it occurs to me that I really think the scene would benefit from, you know, darker shading on some of these trees. Let's see how this works. This is kind of a blue, but I'm working it over some other existing colors, so, and these alcohol inks are, of course, are transparent as well, so the colors are underneath are always going to influence kind of what you see. So to me, it's looking on, you know, a touch on the violet side as I go over that brown. You know, brown has a certain degree of red in it, and I think this is looking great here with this additional tone. And for me, the shading is just, for me, as far as the trees go, I think it's just starting to take shape. Let's bring the same color down into this tree trunk down here, and go into the shadows and start shading it with that color. Bring a little bit down here into the landscape as well. Maybe on some kind of the dark side of the mushrooms. Hit some of the shadows underneath the mushrooms. Okay, that was this color right here. Some blue. Let's see if we can kind of add a little bit more of a kind of a whimsical feel. Here's a little bit of a violet. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Violet and green, kind of go well together. Needs to need some blending here. Okay. So you go back in. I typically blend with my lighter colors. So you can go light, dark, and then back to light again. And let's see. Let's hit those caterpillars with something. I mean, they are kind of an unusual element in the scene. Here's some yellow. I think there's a banded yellow and green caterpillar. Let's go with some of that. And that really stands out. So I went with yellow, green. Let's go back to yellow a little bit. Kind of blend that out slightly. Probably with a color like that, you can almost be certain that that caterpillar is probably a poisonous one. That type of color color array. Okay. Now let's see. Alright, I like the direction this scene is going in right here. And I was really hoping to not have to take this to a absurd fourth part. But I might. And would editing help? Definitely. Okay. Kind of deepening the shadows on the trees even more. Putting that kind of a darker tone on the side opposite from the moonlight. Okay. I don't know. I might have to use a little bit of black on kind of the far side. Actually, that looks like it's going... That might be going dark enough right there for me. There's a little bit of brown, kind of tying it in with the tree trunk down here a little bit. These kind of half-page scenes certainly take a little bit longer, and especially with all this kind of specific coloring down here that I'm applying. Let's see, here's a little bit of pink. Adding it into these mushrooms here, kind of giving it a little bit of texture as well. Bring some of this in that tree trunk. Okay,